For those of you who don't know me, because I don't have my name tag on, my name is Kathy Clough. I've been a master gardener forever. Today we're going to talk about saving seeds. And I can do it in 2 slides by telling you go out, pick the seed, put it in a bag, and put it in your refrigerator. So that's it. But there's a lot more to saving seeds than you would think. Saving seeds is something that the farmers of old, your parents, grandparents probably did if they farmed. They saved their seeds, picked them at the end of the year, and that was the crop for the next year. So seeds were important in the history of the United States and all countries. A lot of our seeds that we used, that your parents used, grandparents, came from the old world, so to speak, England, Germany, wherever they immigrated from. Anyway, this is a quotation taken from a book that's in the, or was anyway, in the garden shop by Thor Hansen. It's an interesting book. It has nothing to do with seed saving really, other than to give you the history of seeds or what he perceives as the history of seeds. Seeds are encountered every day. Whether you realize it or not, you're using seeds. Anyway, whether you use it or not. So tell me, what seeds do you use each day, or seed pods? Y'all are using hundreds of them probably.
Flaxseed.
What? Flaxseed. Okay, what else?
Sunflower.
Sunflower seed.
Hollyhock.
Hollyhock. Okay. What else?
Pepper.
Pepper.
Tomatoes.
Over here.
Tomatoes.
Poppy. Tomato under. Okay. Here's a list that I put together off of some you may not even think of. Your morning coffee comes from a seed. Coffee beans. Pepper, somebody mentioned, a lot of the spices, not all of them, are seeds or seed pods. Ground up, cloves, hills, vanilla is an orchid seed, seed pod, mustard seeds. You know, when you make your sandwich, you're using seeds. A lot of grains, wheat, barley, corn, oats, rye, all of those are grains. Go on down, and all your beans, your peas, coconut, chocolate comes from the cacao bean. And then you get into your fruits, berries, nuts, pecans, almonds, walnuts, whatever. Your pomes and your drupes. You mentioned flaxseed, avocados is a seed, alfalfa seeds. There's all kinds of these. And those are just the food ones. Medicinal herbal uses other types of seeds that we may not eat, but the list is unending. Why would you want to save seeds?
To grow things.
Say?
To grow things.
To grow things? Okay.
Propagate, to keep it going.
I'm sorry.
To propagate, to keep it going.
Yeah? Propagate it. To share, somebody said. Okay. These pictures are different seed pods, and I don't know what all of them are, but you can recognize some of them. Here's a columbine. This is a poppy of some type. This is a magnolia seed pod. I don't know what these 3 are necessarily. But anyway, every plant has a different looking seed pod. Now they may be fairly similar within the same species, but that's just a kind of a side note. Okay, this is a quotation from Bill McGorman, who is used to be chairman of head of the Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance. He's now in Tucson, based with Native Seed search. And if you ask Charles at the back, he can show you a book that came from that group. This is Basic Seed Saving that he wrote. And you can get this online, I think still. But it's a good basic handbook for saving seeds. It's not terribly in-depth, but it has the basic information that you need. A couple other books while I'm talking about it are Seed Starter's Handbook by Nancy Bubble, and Seed to Seed by Susanna Ashworth, and she's associated with the Seed Savers Exchange in Iowa. Those references will be at the end. Okay, saving seeds, okay, preserve the food chain. Like I said, your parents, grandparents, save seed, plant their next fall crop, or summer crop, or spring crop, whatever they were. And they needed to perpetuate, their corn to feed their cattle or horses, or put food on their table. Get seeds from local. When you save your seeds, they are adapted to the place that you get them from. Plants they grew in the heat here. They can tolerate here, both the cold, down to at least 10 degrees, which is our zone, or up to 100 degrees. In Tucson, you probably might find seeds that wouldn't do as well in the cold, although it does get down to freezing there as well. They may be more tolerant of our soil or the soil where they're grown in, and they may have a longer growing blooming season because of our climate, because we can grow from March 1st to November 1st, basically. Okay, we want to save seeds to preserve the plants that have certain qualities or traits. If you're looking, and this is kind of the basis for hybridizing. Anyway, you might want something that came up and it's, only 10 inches high, and that's what you need. You don't need something that's 3 feet tall, so you might want to save that. Or it may have been a great tomato that gave you tons and tons and tons of tomatoes, so you might want that. Or it may have a new bloom color or size. Save seeds to save money. Seeds that you save are basically free, except for your back and your knees and that kind of thing. But the nurseries only offer what they can get from their distributors. And if you've noticed, there's fewer and fewer seeds for a higher and higher price lately. I bought some seeds for the greenhouse for a tomato plant sale. You got 10 seeds for $3.89 because of the hybridizing that they have to do to them. Save seeds to get new varieties. If you've been trying to hybridize, when you hybridize some plants, you may not get seed. Some plants, some of the lilies, the daylilies, have been hybridized such that they no longer have the male and female parts, the pistils and the anthers and that kind of thing. So you have to vegetatively grow them. You may want to maintain or increase the biodiversity. I think somebody said something about this. A couple of these quotes are from books and places that I have taken, read from. But along with this is a decrease in family farming. Your families don't farm anymore. The kids have gone off to the big city, and so to speak, it's coming back. But there's been an increase in the industrial side of the farming. Okay, 3/4 of the seed varieties on Earth in 1900 are gone now, according to Mr. Shapiro. And there are, I didn't put the picture in here, there are 3 major companies, actually 4, but it's 3 major ones, DowDuPont, Bayer, Monsanto, and Syngenta, Campana, They have all merged or bought each other out. The excuse me, three main ones. There's the fourth one, because when Bayer took over Monsanto, Bayer had to, in order to comply with the antitrust laws, had to divest itself of some of it, and those went to BASF. It was kind of in the middle. If you want this information, there's a professor of some sort at the, Philip Howard is his name, at the University, Michigan State University, that has all kinds of charts showing the interrelationship of all the seed companies. These seed companies are these DowDuPont, Bayer, Monsanto, and Syngenta Chem China are basically chemical companies. But if you look at the picture that it has, especially the Syngenta owns several pharmaceutical companies as well. AstraZeneca, somebody else owns, I'm sorry, I can't remember right now, but Philip Howard at Michigan State University. Anyway, okay. Another reason is to preserve seeds in a certain climate, types and regions, for emergencies, for all the reasons that we have mentioned, so that they don't become extinct, so that they are available if some catastrophe happens. This is a list of some of the seed banks. The U.S. Seed Bank is the National Lab for Genetic Resources Preservation in Fort Collins, just north of us. England has one. Australia has one. Almost every country has one. And there are 11 or 12 here in the United States. I've mentioned a couple of those. Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance I mentioned, Seed Savers Exchange, there's others as well. Cherokee Nation even has one, and the Forest Service and the BLM also help provide seed from their lands as well. Other reason that we've already mentioned is to fight the mega agribusinesses, GMOs, the patenting of seeds, we'll get to more in a minute, and to save the seeds that you have grown before they become patented, if they're going to be patented. Save seeds because not all nurseries are going to have those plants next year. The nurseries, for the most part anymore, are only stocking the newest varieties because that's what some people want, and they want to be trendy, so to speak. That may be all that their supplier will give them as well. And a lot of the nurseries are not doing their own greenhouse business anymore. And not all seed is available. It takes a while to grow it out, and the conditions may not be right for it. They may not have the people to harvest it, or they may have had a bad crop failure that year. We mentioned extinction of seeds and want to maintain those seeds. One use of the seed banks that I learned is that they are used when there's disasters, fires, floods. Some of those seeds, if they aren't available elsewhere, are taken out of seed banks and used to replenish the plants. And then I think Gail mentioned share the seed with your friends. It's fun just to gather them and share it with your friends, take it to a seed exchange, or give it to a seed bank. It's fun. It gives you a kind of a sense of satisfaction, knowing that you've done that. Okay, we'll be getting into, in order to save the seeds, there's information that you need to know and be up to date with, and that's what's the life cycle of your plant. Is it an annual, biannual, or perennial? And that determines when you are going to collect that seed for the most part. Annuals are going to set seed, grow, set seed. all in that 1 year. Biennials, you won't get seed until next year. Onions are a good example of that. If you're wanting onions, garlic seed, you have to wait till next year if you plant it this year. Perennials, it may be several years before your perennials set seed, if they do. And then what type of flower does the plant have? Is it a perfect flower? Is it, monoecious, dioecious? We'll get into that some more. When does the seed mature? You have to wait. If you're collecting vegetable seeds, for instance, you have to wait way past when it's due, or can you collect your seed now? And then you need to know how to prepare the seed once you've saved it, and then how to save it, package it, store it correctly. Because if you don't, you'll lose your seed. You risk losing it. Okay, when you save seed, you want to save it from healthy, robust plants. You don't want a little wimp that manages to set one seed, because that seed is going to be a wimpy seed. It will be. And I don't know, I start tomatoes usually, and there several times I've gotten a good germination, but then a couple of the seeds, they come up and they have no head on them. So they die because they can't get they don't have a leaf portion. As I mentioned, when save the seed of whatever trait you're looking for. If you're looking for a small plant, save the small plant. If you're looking for a tall plant, save the tallest. The one that had the best taste, one that had the best color, or the color that you like, had the largest, greatest fruit tasting fruit, that set the fruit earliest or latest, depending on where you live and what you want. That's something that you might want to look at with, like, apricots, in this area. Or the one that matured first or last. And then you must have good viability, and we'll get into that some more later. The seed has to be viable for you to save it, so you can save it, it may not be viable. Okay, you also want to save from heirloom or heritage seeds, also called open pollinated seeds. Do not save seed from diseased plants or things that have something wrong with them. Diseased plants, the disease can be passed on to your seeds. It may, and then it may also distort the seed growth as well, or the seed formation. Seeds have a life expectancy, a shelf life. It's not what's on the back of the package when you buy the package of seed. That's a governmental date. But there are lots of tables out there where people will tell you how long seed is good for. For instance, onion seed, garlic seed, it's only good for chive seed, it's only good for about a year to 2 years at the most. But tomato seed, you can almost save forever, it seems like. I'm still using seeds that we collected in 2018, 2019 at the tomato fiestas. Although I'm out now, but if you're unsure, do a germination test. And y'all know how to do a germination test? No? Okay. It's easy. Take 10 seeds of if you have 10 seeds that you can spare, put them in a moist paper towel, lay it out, put the seeds in the center, fold it over, end to end, side to side, not tightly, but just, and then put it in a plastic bag and seal it. It's Ziploc, it does well. Stick it on top of your refrigerator or someplace where it's going to stay about 70 degrees, 65 to 75. Some seeds like it even hotter. But if you put it at least 70 degrees for 5 to 10 days, and then check it every few days and see how many germinate. If you have at least 7 of those 10 seeds germinate, 70% is used as a good germination test. If they all germinate, it's even better. And you can do that with most seeds. And then if if you're ready to plant them, you can put them in little pots or something right then. Those are usable. Okay, a seed is a baby plant in a box with its lunch. And that's according to Thor Hansen. But it's a living dormant. Now seeds are called dormant. They're not, they are dry, but they're not dead. It's an embryonic plant. It's got all the nutrients, everything it needs to keep itself going until it puts on its first 2 leaves at least. You do need to give it some water to get it to grow. It needs water. So the process of taking in the water by the seed is called imbibition. If you want a nice word to try out on your friends, try that one. Imbibe. This is water. Okay. This is an embryo plant. The embryo is down on the bottom. The top part looks kind of like a corn seed, but not quite. But the embryo and the cuttings are down on the bottom. The embryo is composed of 3 parts called the leaves, the stem, and the root. Epicodal, hypocodal, and radical. I've also heard the radical called radican. But those are the official ones. The box is the seed coat. It encloses the seed or the pod or whatever. And the lunch then is the endosperm, which we'll get more on. Okay. There's an avocado seed and a peach seed. Right there is the embryo of the plant. Okay? And again, you can see the hypocodal. Hypocodal is what becomes the stem. The radical down here is what becomes the root. And then up here is what becomes the leaves. It's not mentioned on there, but that's the avocado. Now the peach seed, my point there is inside a fleshy seed coat, so to speak. This has names for different layers, the endocarp, the exocarp, and the mesocarp, and the ectocarp, which you probably don't need to worry about, but anyway, there's the embryo of the peach seed, and that'll shoot up as well. Now this has got a hard coat on it, but it will, just like nuts, will, as I'm sure some of you have realized, will germinate. Start the compost pile, you'll have peaches coming out. Okay, here's another picture of the flower after this is how it's formed. You've probably all seen this. The female part is this part here, which is usually surrounded by the male parts, the stamen with the anther and the filament on it. And then down at the bottom of the pistil is the ovary with ovules in it. And this is where the seeds will form. The stigma is sticky, usually, or can be. And so it gets the pollen from here, goes all the way down here, and the pollen grains connect there and start forming a seed. There's another picture with a little bit more scientific names on it, but it's the same thing. Just got fancier names for the male and female parts. You can, oops. Okay. This one shows the pollen grains in it, anthers and pollen, connective tissue and the pollen grains here. Microsporangium, if you want to learn that word. But they have to get on here and it goes down. This is another mature flower, perfect flower. It's got both male and female parts on it. Okay, that's what we just went through. Hard fruits are called nuts, as I'm sure you're aware, and there may be husks outside the seed coat as well, like in pecans or walnuts. Layer outside the husky. This is another picture of basically the same thing, except there's a point to this. There are different types of plants, which may be called dicotyledonous plants, which is the bean seed here, develops, two leaves that come up, or the monocotyledon plants, which are corn, grasses, most of the grains, bamboo, it's grass, that kind of thing. Okay, perfect flower, we talked about imperfect flowers with only one sex on a bloom. Now, that sex can be either male or female, and whether it's all on the same plant or on different plants means it's either monoecious or dioecious. Monoecious means both the male and female parts are on the same plant. Dioecious means the male plant is separate from the female plant. They're totally different plants. So you want seed, you have to have a male and a female plant close enough that they will pollinate each other. And they usually require wind to carry it, although you can get it, hand do it. Meadow rue, I have in my garden, I have only male. Unfortunately, females have the blooms on them, males kind of wimpy bloom. The cottonwoods are male and female. Female ones are the males, the cotton flying around in the wind about this time of year. Ginkgos, willows, and cannabis, they're all dioecious. You have the male and female cannabis.